So I've been thinking about something lately and having a lot of conversations about this topic that I want to share with you. And then this weekend, if you don't know this about me, I volunteer at a place called Wings and Talons, where I work with a variety of hawks and owls and raptors. And something happened there that I'm seeing a lot of in businesses and with the entrepreneurs and business owners that I talk to. So I wanted to share this with you so you knew what was going on and then you knew what to do about it. And I'm calling this, what do you do when it all stops working? What do you do when it all just stops working? Because a lot of times what I see in nature and what I learn from working with animals and working out in the world, the nature world, is really applicable to business. So let's dive into a couple things that happened. Number one, first and foremost, and I am seeing this so much. It started with the election in the United States. It's really global, politics globally at this point. It's this concept of distractions. Massive, not itty bitty, massive distractions. Can't tear your eyes away from it, distractions. So that's what happened this last weekend at the bird sanctuary. It's migration season, it's mating season, and there were some wild hawks in the area. And they were very vocal and they were very active and they were hunting and they were swooping and it was all very exciting. It was all very distracting. It was very distracting. It was distracting in two ways. Number one, we were distracted. The people who were volunteering there, we were completely distracted. We were standing in the middle of the park watching the birds. We weren't getting done what we needed to get done because we were so busy watching what was going on. And I'm seeing that in business owners right now. You need to get things done. You're excited and want to get things done. And then, oh my gosh, you jump on social media even just to post your own stuff. And the next thing, you're gone down a spiral of doom an hour later just because of the level of distraction. So the first half of distraction is, are you being distracted from the work you need to be doing that would actually help you? That's the thing about the distraction. The distraction isn't serving you in any way. It's just pulling you away from what you could be doing and what you could be getting done. And then the second half of the distraction is our birds were completely distracted. Nobody was cooperating with us. Things that they had been doing with us for months and months, very easily, flying over to the glove when we asked, eating out of my hand, getting on the scale, all the things that we ask them to do, they've been doing for months. And nothing, no engagement, zero engagement. And I know you know how that feels. If you're posting on social media for your business, if you have emails that you send out for your business, if you have a podcast that you use for your business, and everything seems like it's going great and you're building your audience, and then all of a sudden, it just stops because of distractions. Especially right now, like I said, when the distractions are so loud. They're so loud. In dog training, when I used to volunteer with dogs, we used to talk about bringing a higher value treat. When the dog would get distracted, could you entice the animal with a higher value treat? Hot dogs instead of kibble. Sometimes it doesn't matter though. The birds don't care. The birds don't have a ton of preference over what they eat. So there's only so much of higher value. And I will tell you, there was nothing that was going to be high enough value this past weekend than what they were watching going on outside their enclosures. And the distraction doesn't always have to be bad. And I really want to make a point of that because right now there's so much horror and anger and chaos in our news and in the world and in our politics that you could think the distraction's a bad thing. But think about the times you've had a wedding, a baby coming, a vacation planned. In this case, we were watching wild birds. There was nothing negative or scary or sad about it, but the distraction is real. To the point where this past weekend, we couldn't even take our birds out of their enclosures. Most of our birds had to stay in their enclosures because the distraction was so much that we couldn't safely interact with them. So sometimes, the distraction is so grand that you have to wait a minute, But you need to be aware, how is the distractions of the world affecting you? And how are they affecting your audience, your prospects, your clients, your customers? And is there anything that you can do to break through the noise and get their attention? Or do you just need to take a step back for a second and let things calm down a little bit instead of screaming into the void with everybody else, vying for the little sliver of extra attention that's out there? What could you do instead? I think this is what's so important. When you know that there's distractions, like social media is a perfect example. When you know that there is a lot of distraction on social media that's going to pull people's attention away from what you're doing, then maybe it's exactly time to use a different tactic to grow your business. This is why I'm not a fan of what I call one-size-fits-all Insta tactics. If your only tactic is social media, and then social media has something going on that creates this massive distraction, you need another route to grow your audience, to grow your business, while this settles down a little bit. So that's the first thing to keep an eye on. Distractions. Where are you distracted? Where is your audience, clients, prospects distracted? And what do you need to do to minimize the damage that could do to your business? So the second thing we noticed this past weekend that created a challenge is our birds are a little fat right now. It's been a cold winter. We had a really cold winter here for an extended period of time compared to what we've been used to. And we give the birds extra calories to help keep them warm. It's one of the ways that birds keep themselves warm, is so do humans, right? We bulk up a little bit. But then in Chicago fashion, the weather broke, and it broke instantly. And we went from 30 degrees to 70 degrees because that's what we do here. And the birds didn't need the extra calories. They were carrying their own winter coat with them. They were happy as they were. We use food, in this case, to inspire our birds to work with us. Unlike dogs who want affection, birds of prey really don't care so much for affection. So we use food as treats to inspire the birds to work with us, to motivate the birds to work with us. But if the bird ain't hungry, doesn't matter. If the bird's not hungry, it has no real impetus to work with us. I see this in business all the time. I have conversations about this all the time. People who are selling the exact same thing over and over again, which is great while it works, right? The extra calories were great while our birds wanted them. If you're selling the same thing and there's a high demand for it, that's fantastic. Go, keep doing it. But sometimes you see people that are tied to what they want to sell and how they want to deliver it, that they're not paying attention to what's going on in the world and the fact that nobody wants their widget anymore. Business MBAs are filled with case studies of Blockbuster and Kodak and huge companies. Do you realize that Blockbuster had the opportunity to purchase Netflix? And Kodak actually invented digital photography. And yet both of those entities are gone because they wanted to sell the thing they've always sold the way they've always sold it. The world changes. The weather broke. The birds didn't need the food anymore. People might not need your solution anymore. Or maybe they just don't want the way it's delivered. Maybe the solution still works, but it needs to be delivered in a different way. Do you need to iterate what you're offering or how you're offering it so that it's once again enticing to buyers? I'm seeing both of these situations over and over again. I'm having a lot of conversations about both of these things because the world right now is so filled with distractions. And the world right now is changing so fast that what worked a couple years ago isn't working anymore. This doesn't mean we give up. This is all, like, the good news here is that everything has an ebb and flow to it. Everything has an ebb and flow to it. The pendulum swings. The way to stay out of reaction mode, because we don't want reaction mode, right? That doesn't help us. The way to stay out of reaction mode is staying aware of what's going on and being able to respond to it instead of waiting and ignoring it and banging your head against the wall. We could have done that with the birds. I tried several times. Bird was uninterested, and so we just stopped. I could still be standing in the enclosure trying to get the bird to cooperate. And that's what we watch people do. They're just standing in the enclosure offering the same piece of something to people who aren't interested in it anymore. That's so frustrating and disheartening. So we want to stay away from that. We want to stay away from that. When we stay in that mode, we end up with limited options. We end up with panicked options. What I want is you to be aware that these things happen so you can stay out in front of them and make decisions based on data, based on what you want to create, based on how you can help the world, instead of reacting to a problem that you waited too long to see what's happening. It's all about awareness. It's just about awareness. If your sales, it really comes down to this, if your sales aren't what they were, taking a deep dive look at your marketplace and these two potential obstacles, what else has your customers' attention? What potentially has your attention so that you're not doing what you need to do? And also, are you offering the thing that they want? This is the best place to start to turn things around.